G'day guys, a lot of people have been scratching their heads about the monks in 5.2 and I'm here to give you a quick run through in my Windwalker PvP guide to patch 5.2. I'll be covering things like talent builds and glyphs, stat priorities, reforging, gems and enchants, and some pro tips. So talent builds and glyphs. I could spend hours talking about the talent choices and glyphs, but I'll save you this news and just show you my build. There's a lot of talk about the new Ring of Peace talent and how fantastically OP it is, and I'll tell you firsthand they are correct. Otherwise, leg sweep is a fantastic alternative as well. These are the glyphs I use, pretty standard stuff. Ultimately it fits with my playstyle, but yours, it may differ. So there's really no right or wrong choice with glyphs here. So you're a little unsure about the stat priorities. Well, fear not. I've done my research and testing on PTRs and live, and I found the most effective and logical stat priority for Windwalkers in 5.2. Not a lot has changed to be honest, but we'll go through them and I'll give you my logical reasoning behind them all. Hit and expertise to 3%. There's no point stacking damage if your abilities miss. To alleviate any chance of this happening, you need to get 3% hit. And expertise is to ensure casters don't dodge or parry any of your attacks, so that 3% will remove any chance of that happening, which is very important when fighting against healers. PvP power. This increases all damage in PvP, which is your fundamental focus with Windwalkers. Next one is agility, increases damage and slightly increases your crit chance. PvP resilience, because you need to take a certain amount of damage before you can start dishing it out. And now this is where it gets a little tricky, so I'll be brief but as detailed as possible when deciding between haste, crit, or mastery. The truth is, haste comes up on top of both mastery and crit. Haste increases your attack speed and energy regeneration, which provides massive boosts to your damage. However, you can have too much haste, so there is somewhat of a soft cap. Most monks will range anywhere between 5 to 7k haste. Too much haste means your energy will regen too fast for you to be able to use it, especially when you factor in combo breaker procs. Crit, generally monks are going with crit build instead of mastery. Windwalkers generally don't have burst, so our damage is more about sustained DPS, and crit complements that. The last one is mastery. Now the monk's mastery is extremely powerful now, provided it is used correctly, such as in combination with your trinket procs and on-use trinkets. It can significantly increase our damage, primarily for when you need to output huge amounts of damage on like flag carriers or healers. Now on to reforging. Basically, if you're below 3% hit or expertise, you should reforge your stats into those. If you've achieved your hit and expertise caps, you should reforge your stats into haste, crit, or mastery when available as per your stat priorities. Okay guys, now we're going to go over gems and enchants. So this is pretty basic stuff, so we'll go through this real quick. Meta gems, of course you want to go for Agile Primal Diamond. Prismatic slots, you want to go for either power or resilience. Blue slots, you want to go for either full power or a split between power and res. Red gems, agility power or agility resilience. Yellow, you go 80 agility or the resilience split, or you go full resilience. With enchants, of course, you want to go for the Greater Tiger Claw inscription. Cloak, you want to go crit. Chest, you want resilience. Braces, you want greater agility. And gloves, you want haste. Belt, of course, you want to grab the buckle. And the legs, you want to get the shadow leather leg armor. Boots, you get the blurred speed, pretty good stuff, and of course any weapon enchant you want to grab the dancing steel enchant. And now for some pro tips. So it's very early into the season, but I have a few little tips for you. Jab and expel harm. Make sure you get into the habit of using expel harm instead of jab. A good rule of thumb is if your health is above 80%, use jab. If it's below 80%, use expel harm. For anyone still confused about one-hander or two-handers, dual wielding is definitely king, unless the eye level of your two-hander is more than 10 eye levels of your one-handers. Nimble Brew and the trinket use. It's a tough choice and generally this is situational. I tend to use Nimble Brew first because there is a higher chance of getting CC'd again at the beginning of the fight than later on, and having your trinket available later will ensure that you can break anything that Nimble Brew cannot. I've tried cast sequence macro to bundle Nimble Brew and trinket together, but it's not very effective since you cannot monitor both the cooldowns or switch your preferences on the fly. Instead, you either bind them to separate keys or use a modifier macro. So in this macro here, I would basically use T for my Nimble Brew or Shift T for my normal trinket. Storm, Earth and Fire. What an awesome ability. When to use this is key. This is a very interesting ability and it largely depends on the situation when to use it. Things like taking down multiple demos or protecting flags are great uses, and I can see this being used in an arena where every point of damage matters. Please check out some of my other guides down below. If there are any questions at all, leave me a comment and I'll get back to you. I hope this information has helped you prepare for your next season, and if it has, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any future guides. As always, thanks for watching.